A little over 10 years ago, Ariana Grande released My Everything, her sophomore record, and one that more or less cemented her as a proper pop star A-lister. My Everything served as an evolution from her adored debut, Yours Truly, retaining that record's R&B undercurrents while building Ariana Grande's cred in the pop world. The world's biggest producers and writers came together to deliver an eclectic record that is second to only one other pop era that year, Taylor Swift's 1989. And even then, My Everything collected a lot of hits. As always, you know the drill. I'm going to talk about the conception of My Everything, go into the singles, how it was received at the time, and then do a track-by-track deep dive before My Everything. It goes without saying that Ariana Grande's 2013 debut album, Yours Truly, was a smashing success, having spawned her first proper top 10 single, The Way with Mac Miller, as well as two other minor hits. Critics loved that record. It debuted at the top of the charts and eventually hit platinum. Later that same year, she released the first of her many Christmas pop projects, Christmas Kisses, which had two classic Christmas covers, Last Christmas and Santa Baby, with her victorious co-star Liz Gillies, as well as two original songs, so the pressure was really on to follow up that record. For perspective, My Everything came just 1 year after Yours Truly. The record was put together really quickly. As early as January 2014, she confirmed that she was working with new producers, pop heavyweights like One Republic's Ryan Tedder, Benny Blanco, and future longtime collaborators Savan Koteka and Max Martin. Fans would get their first taste of the record through a live stream that Grande would host in March of that year when her duet with Chris Brown had been delayed due to his impending court issues. Grande would play a few snippets, some tracks like You Don't Know Me, Only One, and Too Close, as well as the title track. In April, Grande would formally announce her lead single Problem featuring Iggy Azalea. She had actually been teasing the track through photoshoot pictures and asked fans to choose between two covers. Problem was an instant smash, debuting at number 3 with 438,000 sales in its first week. This was pre-streaming during the sales and radio-driven period of music consumption. For years, it would become Grande's highest charting song until 2018's Thank You Next peaked at number 1. This song actually peaked at number 2, and it was ironically blocked by Iggy Azalea's Fancy featuring Charlie XCX. Regardless, Problem stayed in the top 10 for 16 weeks and was a summer staple that heralded Ariana's A-list status. The music video featured this really cool 1960s aesthetic that Grande would actually carry over to many of her live performances for the track. Ironically enough, Grande had considered scrapping Problem until she played it for her management and label. My Everything would be completed sometime in May of 2014. The iconic album cover was unveiled in June, featuring Grande in black and white sitting on a stool. This cover was so iconic that it went viral years later when someone tried to recreate the photo itself, saying that there was no way her ass was sitting on that stool. Grande herself would joke about it, and fans would use outtakes to confirm that it was indeed not photoshopped. The same cover would be reissued with the lavender hue for the Target version and later the 10-year re-release. Early July marked the release of Break Free, the second single in a collaboration with DJ Zed. Break Free would peak at number 4 and became a staple gay anthem over the years. It was accompanied by an iconic Barbarella sci-fi themed music video. The hits kept on coming because later that month, Bang Bang with Jessie J and Nicki Minaj became the third single off the record and the lead of Jessie's own record. That song would debut in the top 10 and even peaked at number 3. With all of these songs charting at the same time, Grande would become the second woman in history after Adele to have 3 running singles in the top 10 simultaneously. Now we're going to talk about the album's release and its legacy. My Everything would drop on August 22nd, debuting number 1 with 169,000 copies sold, an improvement over Yours Truly's numbers. It was Grande's second record to debut at number 1, and eventually it would hit 4 times platinum. On a critical side, it was mostly positive. Pitchfork itself gave it surprisingly high marks, stating that Grande was a fixture for pop and not a novelty. Many reviews praised Ariana Grande's vocal stylings, as well as the record's sense of growing confidence and emotionality, though some critics were not sold on the album's lack of cohesion, personality, or character. Regardless, My Everything would go on to become the first solo Grammy nomination for Grande for Best Pop Vocal Album, losing to Sam Smith's In the Lonely Hour. Post-album, My Everything would spawn 2 more singles. The first post-album single, Love Me Harder with The Weeknd, would peak at 7, marking Grande as the artist with the most top 10 hits of 2014. One Last Time, co-penned by David Guetta, would mark the album's final single, peaking at 13, its only single to not hit the top 10. My Everything would be followed up with the Honeymoon Tour, Grande's first ever arena tour. Grande would also begin work on her third studio record, Dangerous Woman, shortly after. In terms of sophomore records, a topic that has been brought up many times during this channel, My Everything was a world-class effort. Just off the singles alone, My Everything was a pure jump from yours truly. Ariana Grande truly jumped from Nickelodeon girl with a hit to a bona fide, solid pop star. I argue that this record is a perfect time capsule for anyone who is curious as to what pop music had sounded in 2014. I feel like each track did a great job of showing different facets of Ariana Grande's personality, and while all the singles did contain features, aside from the last one, Grande's presence was never diminished. Problem would have been a hit without Iggy's verse. Grande's vocals were really what made Break Free and Zed's production work. Bang Bang was a rare pop girl trio moment where every woman shined, and the working relationship between Abel and Ari really did start on Love Me Harder. The two have gone on to spawn 4 release tracks, with 3 of them going top 10 and 2 going number 1. In terms of the album itself, it's kind of a hot mess compared to the more coherent Yours Truly or the pop opus that is Dangerous Woman. She goes from a Harry Styles co-written piano ballad to Hands on Me to the title track. My Everything was definitely a record of its time, before the meta had shifted away from singles heavy promotion to the more commonplace albums as a narrative model that we have today. All that being said, the record flexes every part of Grande's wide range as a musician. There's something for everyone in My Everything. There's pop, R&B, EDM, balladry, you name it. If anything, My Everything felt like a demo record for Ariana Grande, proving that she could do just about anything. She just needs direction and passion. That producer list is stacked as ever. Max Martin, Shellback, Tedder, Darkchild, Ilya, Zed, all on the same record. We will never see this again. Even on tracks that she'd go on to say that she hates singing, like Why Try, there's still a clear demonstration of vocal talent that's very distinct. Her R&B cuts remain some of my personal favorites. Too Close was one of my most played songs in 2014 despite being only on the Target version for nearly 10 years. Grande's decision to lean more on pop was a smart bet to give her some room from the constant comparisons that people had made to Mariah and Xtina at the time. I do believe that My Everything was a real turning point for the general public at least. Grande already had a strong Arianator following, but My Everything was what hooked the general public. 2014 remains one of the best years in pop music, much like how I think 2024 has been for this decade. My Everything remains one of the crown pop jewels in my opinion for its time. It's definitely up there with Teenage Dream in 1989 in terms of career milestones. And even though Grande would go on to greater heights towards the end of the decade, My Everything definitely laid the foundations. And now it's time for the track by track. The record has a dedicated proper intro, something that she would actually echo 10 years later on Eternal Sunshine. It was co-written with Victoria Monet, and it was seen to be its own song, but it was just too short, so it became an intro instead. I think it thematically sets up this journey of giving up her everything to the listener with a promise. Problem has aged wonderfully. For a time, I would avoid it because it was everywhere that summer, but listening to it now, it's really refreshing. There's a good mix of the R&B vibes with the pop sheen to it. The sax and beat drop are perfect. It's a great little groove moment, and Big Sean's uncredited whispery vocals do add a punch to the song. There's a reason she plagiarized herself for Focus. Lyrically, it's about being caught in a situationship that you are better off leaving. The pre-chorus has to be my favorite part because she just soars with the head in my clouds. She just drags out that note that leads into the iconic chorus. The verses are pretty catchy as well. Iggy Azalea's verse does intentionally add a retro vibe to the song, but it really does work. Her Jay-Z reference of 99 Problems was cheeky then and now. One Last Time is an underrated track. I think the story is really complex because it's about cheating and trying to get back with a lover. I think that's really nice to have a contrasting point of view because humanizes Grande. The melody work and the vocals really make this one a highlight. I used to think that the production was a bit dated when the song dropped, but it has aged into something pretty nostalgic for me, and the fragile little music box synths that pulsate into a rigid drum line are really unique. When Grande recontextualizes for Manchester, it catapulted to an all-timer for me. Why Try is a quintessential Ryan Tedder pop ballad moment. Ariana Grande herself always shades this track, but it's definitely one of my personal favorites. The simple production really allows Ariana to show off her vocals, though the lyrics are a little bit generic, never really revealing why this relationship is doomed. But there's passion in the vocals and the way that she belts on this. You really feel her pain. It's very angelic. Break Free is a classic. I think out of all of Zed's more popular pop creations, this one is actually one of the few that can actually stand toe-to-toe with Clarity without being a knockoff, and that's because of Max Martin's assistance in variation and flow. The hallmarks of the classic pop writing structure, the verse, the pre-chorus, the structure, the post-chorus, and the bridge structure, that's all there. Grande joked about the song's more grammatical, incorrect stuff like Who I Really Are or I Only Want to Die Alive, yet the fact that they still managed to work is a testament to the pop genre. This is one of the few places where you can really not have it be a deal breaker, and if anything, it feeds into the song's energy. Out of all of the tracks on My Everything, I imagine this one is the one that will outlive the rest of the album because it's a pride anthem and it's also an EDM pop staple. Best Mistake with Big Sean is a solid mid-tempo track. It's very minimalistic, and there is a focus on her vocals and her chemistry with Big Sean, who she did briefly date. I think that this writing is not really anything too special, but Grande does sound pretty gorgeous on this in the pre-chorus where she gets to deliver and play with the melody a little bit. Big Sean's verse is solid and pretty romantic. I love the line, I love your mom so much because she's an older you, because it's one of those lines that make you think for a second. Be My Baby with Cashmere Cat should have been a single. It is trippy, it is fun, it is hooky. This one was stuck in my head that entire summer of 2014. Structurally, it was just very solid. Each verse actually advances the track forward. It makes you anticipate that chorus, and the breakdown in the bridge really just works. The ad-libs in the final chorus always stun me. This should have been a single. And Adore, another track that Grande did with Cashmere Cat the year after, is just as magical, if not more magical than this track. Go listen to it. Break Your Heart Right Back with Childish Gambino is another hit that got away. I cannot believe I forgot how genius this track was, like the sample of Diana Ross's I'm Coming Out. I think it's really insane that she had the song about an ex who cheats on her with a guy because he's gay. This song has Ariana play a reasonably angry ex who wants to break his heart right back because she just felt foolish telling everyone that her baby loves her. Like, you can really hear how upset she is. Grande again sounds so brazen and confident on this track. The sass just translates so well, and the post-chorus gives her the space to really show off. Gambino's little verse as the friend who breaks it to her that her man is gay is really camp. Love Me Harder was my initial favorite when I first heard the record. It has a similar sound and production to another favorite track of mine that year, Taylor Swift Style, likely because they shared the same production team. I adore the dark synthy vibe to the track. The rest of the album really feels clean, and this one was the one track that had some grime and texture to it, especially with that guitar riff and the double entendres. The song could be romantic or about sexual satisfaction, and for everybody at the time, Grande was really trying to shake off Cat Valentine as an image, and this track helped her move on as a more adult figure. Just a Little Bit of Your Heart was written by Harry Styles for Ariana. It's a very simple, elegant piano ballad about being in love with someone who's unfaithful. I thought Grande knocked it out of the park and made it her own, and it also showed off Styles' natural knack for delivering killer pop tracks as a writer. Verse 2 in particular just feels so honest, and that pre-chorus with the dragged out vocals is just devastating, which is why it's so funny that she goes to Hands on Me with A$AP Ferg. Darkchild co-produced this absolute banger. Grande goes full risque, singing about needing her lover's hands on her. Each verse is just a sultry night out. The A$AP Ferg delivers a really good catchy post-chorus, and his verse is just so much fun. I'ma put a ring on it, word to B and Jay-Z. I mean, like, the bridge is really ethereal too. I'm so sad that this song gets buried in discussion. The standard album closer and title track, My Everything, is a pretty ballad. It's co-penned with Victoria Monet. I don't really like it as much as Just a Little Bit of Your Heart, though lyrically it is the strongest track on the album, and being honest about missing that ex, and I do think it adds a thematic layer to the album, having the record be about the themes of trust and loves that have passed. Grande would go on to dedicate this song to her grandfather, who passed away earlier that year due to cancer, when she would perform the song on tour. Deluxe tracks are just as messy. Bang Bang was tacked onto the deluxe in some physicals as a bonus track. I don't have much to say other than the fact that this was one of the most overplayed tracks of the 2010s. Listening to it now, it's actually aged pretty well. I think all three women stun on the track, but Nikki is the stealer. She steals this track with "It's me, Jesse, and Ari. If they test me, they sorry." I mean, one of the all-time lyrics of the 2010s. Only one just being a bonus track was Criminal. I felt like this was one of my favorite tracks just because it was an extension of the Yours Truly sound, which she kind of just buried and abandoned abandoned with this record. The chorus is just perfection, and the song fits into the idea of wondering if your lover is faithful. I get why it was left off, because it does not mesh with the rest of the standard, but it is a fan favorite for a reason. It's an ancestor to buy off Eternal Sunshine, mark my words. You Don't Know Me is a cute bonus track, and I definitely understand why it was cut. It's okay, I don't really love it that much. It's singing about the pressures of fame, which again would have been a cool lyrical detour from the relationship heavy nature of the record, but it just did not fit the vision. Which brings us to the two special tracks that were bonus tracks on the Target edition and are now on streaming thanks to the 10-year anniversary. Cadillac Song was one of the prettiest songs that Grande had at the time. It's very nostalgic, doo-woppy, like the Yours Truly album, with a very dreamlike atmosphere where she waxes poetic about a former flame that she still daydreams about. It definitely feels a bit more juvenile compared to the other tracks, so I get why it was left off. But Too Close, that is the track that made me want to even make this video to begin with. I don't care if it flops, because I want to talk about the song right here. As someone who was raised by a mom who loves Mariah Carey, this one is just throwback heaven. This track is about a dangerous relationship between two friends who are just perfect for each other, but they can never make it work, and it's dangerous. The bridge where she calls all the ladies to make some noise, you know, it felt a little bit empty. I think that's my only criticism of the song. But on the dance floor, it's really fun to hear. This is a really good track. The final chorus is beautiful. Everyone, listen to this track. This is an underrated one. Overall, My Everything's not exactly Ariana Grande's best record, but it's definitely a big step forward that she had to take to become the star she is today. Many fans will remember the hits, but the record's chaotic track listing actually hides some pretty solid gems and lost hits that make me pine for the days Instagram was cool, and we all did not have TikTok brain rot. I'm very happy to award this a 7.9 out of 10. Happy anniversary, My Everything. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into this super last minute, super late video. I had wanted to make this, but I had to prioritize the short and sweet review. I want to give a quick shout out to all of my members. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. A very big shout out to my subscribers. Thank you all for tuning in week to week. I had a very good time having a vacation. It was cool to step away from the channel, but I missed you guys. I missed you guys so much. So holler down below. Let me know about how you felt about the My Everything era, what your favorite tracks were, and let me know what you want me to cover next. I'm currently working on remastering the Lady Gaga series. I was rewatching them and they are cute, but I want to give them the due diligence that like I've given some other records on the channel, because Gaga is a special artist in my heart, and I just cannot wait for Joker 2, which you know I will be reviewing. I will be taking you guys with me to the theater. You guys are going to get my in-theater review after I walk out. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you next video.